Welcome to this session. My name is Barbara Ochalia, and today in our class, we are going to look at recruitment and selection. So in our very first class, we looked at the practices or responsibilities of human resource management, and we saw that recruitment and selection was one of those practices, right? So what is the meaning of recruitment? I believe these terms are not new to us, but practically we are just getting the theory and the logic behind all this. So recruitment has been defined also by various scholars, but our take-home message should be that recruitment is the process of searching for candidates for employment and stimulating them to apply for these jobs in these organizations. So practically recruitment links the employers and the job seekers. So it actually entails, this is actually a process that involves finding the suitable people, the appropriate people with the rightful skills to fill these positions that are vacant in these organizations. So recruitment involves steps, it has steps. And these steps are basically in filling a given vacancy. Number one is that for a human resource manager, they should examine the vacancy or the position, examine that position for which you want to get the rightful people to fill, and then consider the source of suitable candidates. Where are you going to recruit? Where are you going to find these rightful candidates to fill the position, right? And then also make contacts with these candidates, and as well as, of course, in a way of attracting them to apply for these jobs. So recruitment precedes selection. In other words, it is recruitment first, and then after we have recruited, then the selection process will follow, right? So recruitment here, we've seen that we are basically contacting these prospective employees, yeah, the job seekers, and we are stimulating them. The human resource managers are stimulating them to apply for these jobs, contacting them. And then after they have applied and they dropped their applications, then the selection process will take place, whereby these human resource managers are basically now assessing, looking through these applications and ensuring that they choose the best candidate to fill this position. Of course, the selection process involves a number of processes, a number of activities. It involves the screening tools such as tests, assessment centers, background and reference checks. All those are made to ensure that we come up with the rightful candidate. So let's look at the difference between recruitment and selection, right? Recruitment, basically, like we've seen in the definition, is searching for these candidates to fill this, for the rightful candidates with the rightful skills to fill the rightful position in an organization. Whereas with selection, just like the definition, we've seen that it involves taking a series of steps or activities to actually assess and screen and come up with the rightful person at the end of the day who will fill this vacant position, right? And then we see that recruitment aims at creating a talent pool, a talent pool of candidates, in a way that a number of candidates are given an opportunity to apply. Sometimes even you've seen those advertisements, those job advertisements, some of them are newspapers, some of them are online, where you see that they are advertising for actually something like 5 positions, but you see 1,000, right? 1,000 or even 2,000 people applying for a job of 5, a job that needs only 5 people. So that is so alarming, and it shows the level of, sometimes it shows the level of unemployment in the country, or sometimes it shows how people love to work with certain with the certain international organizations. Usually that one happens with these so-called international organizations that we want to work for, right? But of course, at the end of the day, someone who has some little knowledge about probability, if you studied about probability, sometimes you look and you're like, if there are 5 positions and it's 2,000 people applying, really, what is the probability of getting that job, right? So in most cases, I look at that, at such scenarios as the unrealistic. So with recruitment, I was just giving an example that very many, especially for those so-called international jobs, very many people are given, because I would be asking myself, if you only need only 5 employees, you only need 5 people to fill those vacant positions, the 5 vacant positions. Why would you allow 2,000 people to apply for a job? And the reasoning is, the answer is simple, is just to make sure that they get a talent pool of candidates, because it's from those many applicants that you'll be able to screen and of course increase the probability of getting the rightful candidate, right? And then of course most of these employers, they keep those applications, and like we are going to see, and where need arises, they don't advertise again, they just look into that pool, that talent pool of candidates, applications, app forms, and then they will just for example contact them. Then selection basically aims at picking out the rightful candidate, right? Recruitment is a positive process, like we've already seen that many people are given chance to apply for these jobs, whereas selection, it is a negative process. How? Because it is this process of selection where we see some of these applications rejected. I believe some of us have applied for these jobs, isn't it? Some of us have applied for these jobs, and I don't know how it felt for you when they sent you that so-called email telling you that that you've not been successful, right? So some of those emails are annoying, you know, someone sending you an email and telling you that thank you for applying, but we are sorry you were unsuccessful, and such organizations that actually even that actually get back and they share the feedback are few, right? Most of them, they tell you we shall get back to you, but they never get back to you, right? So for me, if you get back to me and you tell me that, you know, thank you for applying for this position, but you've been successful, I will be grateful. Why? Because it will stop me from having false hope that, you know, maybe somehow, somewhere they will call me and give me this job. You know, you take away all that false hope, and I get to know, yes, it so happened that I applied, but I never succeeded, right? Than someone who just even tells you that they're going to get back and they never get back, and then they make you have false hopes over that kind of job. Then recruitment is concerned with tapping the sources of human resources. Like you've already seen that it is in these applications that these employers will be able to tap the talent skill, right? And then also, selection is concerned. It involves activities like interviews, tests, but all aimed at coming up with choosing the final candidate to fill this position, right? With the recruitment, there is no contact. There is no contact between the employer and the job seekers. Whereas with selection here, it actually involves contact. How? Where we see, for example, in screening tools like interviews, maybe oral interviews, right? These applicants will come and they will be asked questions. So practically that will be interaction or contact between the employer and the employee. So what are the recruitment needs? The recruitment needs. In other words, how would I frame this? In other words, what brings about the need for the human resource managers to recruit, right? What would make them want to recruit people to fill the rightful people to fill these positions? Number one is this recruitment need arises because of what you call planned needs, right? Planned recruitment needs. In other words, here, well, for example, we could have employees, that are retiring, yeah, when they reach a certain age. For example, depending on the labor laws for each country, they will be retiring, right? Maybe at 60 or 65, right? So of course, as you see that maybe most of your employees are aging, then you should be able to plan, right? You should be able to plan such that when they leave, when they retire, you'll be able to replace them, right? So that gives the need for recruitment. Then also it could be the need for recruitment can be what you call anticipated recruitment needs. Anticipated recruitment. Now, to anticipate is to expect, right? So, for example, you could expect that of course, you could look as a human resource manager. You can look at the trends of your employees, and maybe you get to know that these employees, they are over resigning almost every year. They are resigning. So if you're anticipating that after every 1 year, these employees are resigning, most of them, then there it means that after every 1 year, you also need to recruit. So that's what we call the anticipated recruitment needs. Then unexpected recruitment needs. With unexpected recruitment needs, practically here, we mean that, for example, if an employee woke up one morning and resigned, what would you do? That is an unexpected recruitment need. It could be also that death of some employees, accidents, maybe during work, and they become incapacitated, they cannot work. You should be able to recruit. Then illness, some of them fall sick. Actually, maybe they acquire communicable diseases like cancer. Yeah, we've been battling, I don't know if we are still battling with COVID-19, where you've seen people being discriminated even at their workplaces and all over the place, right? So all those, it's actually unexpected recruitment needs. Resignation, for example. So if someone just wakes up one morning and they resign, others just even abscond from their jobs, then it means that is unexpected recruitment need. You'll have no option but to recruit and replace that vacant position. So what is the purpose and importance of effective recruitment? The purpose and importance of effective recruitment. Number one is that it helps to reduce unemployment, like we already saw in the objectives, in the societal objectives of human resource management, right? So recruitment being one of the practices of human resource management, actually it helps to reduce the unemployment levels, right? Of course, we know that most of, depending on the country, most of the jobs are, most of the people are employed, right? If you are entrepreneurs or business owners, then also recruitment helps, for example, the high, what we call the high turnover for some occupations, being high turnover rate, where we see that maybe for some organizations, people are over resigning, right? People are absconding work or their positions. So recruitment helps to meet all these needs. We've seen the unexpected recruitment needs, where people are over resigning, people are dying, people are getting illnesses. So this recruitment will be a solution to meeting these problems, to solving these problems. And then also recruitment aims or helps to identify the rightful candidates to fill the rightful positions, right? So recruitment also will aims at attracting and encouraging more candidates to apply in the organization. Like you've already seen that it gives a big talent, a big pool of talent, yeah, giving opportunity for many candidates to apply. And then also it helps to determine the present and the future requirements of an organization in terms of personnel planning. So with personnel planning, like we've already seen that there is what we call planned recruitment need. As an organization plans for its human resource needs, recruitment helps it to actually fulfill those planned recruitment needs. Then recruitment also minimizes the unwanted cost of selection, right? So with the recruitment, we see that as these job seekers are dropping in their applications, like we already saw that some of these organizations or employers, what they do, they keep a record of these applications, and whenever there is need for to recruit or fill this vacant position, they only refer to these archives of applications, thereby reducing the cost of, again, further telling people to apply again, right, which is costly. Then the recruitment helps to increase the success rate of selection process by decreasing the number visibly underqualified or overqualified job applicants, right? So with the recruitment, basically, like you've already seen that after recruitment, of course, recruitment precedes selection. So the selection, we realize that the selection cannot be done without recruitment, right? The two work together. So recruitment actually will facilitate a successful selection process, right? It will facilitate, for example, just imagine that you only recruited a few applicants, maybe 10 for a job that needed maybe 5, right? So of course there you'll be reducing your probability of attaining the rightful candidate. What if it so happens that among those few applications that you have got, no one qualifies, no one has the rightful skills? That would be a wastage of time and money, right? So recruitment also helps that it helps, especially when we are these human resource managers are giving an opportunity to a talent pool of applicants to drop in their applications. Of course, it also reduces, when it comes to selection, for example, it will reduce the probability that these applicants will later on leave the organization after a short time. Of course, are identifying the rightful person for the rightful position will also reduce on such scenarios, right? Of having these workers absconding their positions, resigning after a very short time, which will be costly in the long run. Then also it helps meet the organization legal and social obligation regarding composition of workforce. For example, some jobs, they require that the labor laws require, depending on each country, that such positions, you should have this such and such a qualification, right? So even with the recruitment, if at all the rightful candidates with the rightful job specifications or qualifications is recruited, then it will, just imagine you recruit someone, for example, someone, people deceive, people fake CVs, people fake this curriculum vitae, right? So you find, it is one thing to write, so well about yourself, right? But also it's another thing it's another thing to prove what you've written, to prove right what you have written about yourself. So in most cases, people write CVs and you find someone is writing a CV of 45 pages. Have you seen such a CV? 45 pages, a whole book itself, someone is writing a CV. So some of those things, I don't think, maybe somehow they may work depending on the kind of maybe job you are applying for. But in most cases, action speaks louder than words. Are we together? And that's the very reason that people are invited for interviews, right? Just to compare. Sometimes they just want to see the face. Are we together? Sometimes they just want to match the face with the papers, right? Sometimes they just want to match the skills with the paper, because this person might have overwritten good about themselves, and someone is like, I need to now match the skills, the face with the curriculum vitae, basically to realize the skills of that person, to identify the skills, skill requirement. So skills are more important than what we write on our curriculum vitae. So the recruitment, of course, here we are looking at it in a positive perspective, whereby if you have recruited the rightful candidates, then of course at the end of the day they will help towards improving the performance of an organization, right? It will lead to individual effectiveness as an employee, and thereby improving the performance of an organization, of course, because you have recruited the rightful people to fill the rightful positions. So let's look at the recruitment process. The recruitment process, like we already saw that with the recruitment process here, it will involve identifying the vacancy, right? That needs to be filled. How many people need to fill that vacancy? What are the duties to be and responsibilities to be performed? What qualifications does it need, that position? Then also from there, then you'll be able to prepare the job descriptions and the job specifications. The job descriptions will be talking about practically the job content, the tasks and responsibilities. The job specifications will basically be talking about the academic qualifications and experience, right? And then from there, you have to know where is the location of this job. Where is the location? Is it up country or in the city center? Then from there, you will do what we call a short listing of all those items. What are the factors affecting recruitment? We have both internal and external factors, So number one is the recruitment. For the internal factors, number one, we have the recruitment policy. The recruitment policy, of course, every organization has its recruitment policy. They have procedures they use to recruit. Then the human resource planning, right? So if the organization has not put it in its plans to recruit, then it will not recruit, right? Especially when there is no need to recruit. Then the size of the farm, right? Of course, the size of the farm has a lot to do with the financial capability, right? So if it's a small farm, don't expect it to over exaggerate in the names of recruiting, which is costly in nature. And of course, if it is as the farm, of course, as the farms or as the organizations expand, of course, they will require to recruit more people to fill these other maybe branches that are being created. Then cost of recruitment. Of course, before recruitment, these organizations have to make a cost benefit analysis. Sometimes it may be more costly to recruit than, you may find it costly to recruit. So some of these organizations, actually, for them, they just receive applications. They receive applications, and when need arises, they just contact those people, right? Who have applied, who have dropped the application, because it is costly. Like we are looking at the whole process, what is involved. You realize that each process is costly, and at the end of the day, depending on your finances, it may be costly for you. So if it is costly and it's not really it's not adding up, it's not cost effective, then you may not really need to recruit. You may use other means of filling. We are going to see there are a number of methods that can be used to recruit, which are basically cheaper. Then the cost of recruitment, we've looked at that. Of course, the size of the farm also, we see that it's related with the cost of recruitment. And then growth and expansion, right? I've talked briefly about that as the farm expands, opens up branches in other areas, in other regions of the country, for example, in other countries, it will basically need to, it will automatically need to recruit and find rightful people to fill those newly opened up branches. Those were the internal factors that affect recruitment. Let's look at the external factors that affect recruitment. Number one is, of course, the external factors here. We are looking at the factors beyond the organization's control, right? So the supply and demand for labor, the supply and demand for labor. There is what we call the labor market, right? So you can find that the supply for labor is greater than the demand. What happens in that perspective? If the supply for labor, right, is greater than the demand for labor, what happens in that perspective? I believe some of us have done some economics somewhere. Maybe some of you have taught you some economics somewhere. So let's interact, please. What happens when the supply for labor is greater than the demand? What happens? What do you think happens? What is the implication of that? Okay, I'm just going to choose. Okay, some tell us. Some tell us. Yes.
Since I missed that last point.
I was asking that if the supply for labor is greater than the demand for labor, what would be the implication of that?
This means the labor will be cheap on the market.
Exactly. Exactly. It means that the labor will be cheap on the market. And in this perspective, even employers will not be, I don't have the right word, but you know, when very many people are searching for jobs, these employers will have nothing to lose. They will feel like they will have nothing to lose. Even if you resigned, they'll be like, there are many applications here. We shall get another person. You get that kind of scenario. So, whereas when the demand for labor is, when the supply for labor is rather less than the demand, when the supply for labor rather is less than the demand for labor, then that scenario there, it will mean that these employers actually, their demand for labor will be high, and the price for labor will be also high. Are we getting the logic? Right? So the demand and supply factors for labor actually also have a lot to do with determining the recruitment, the labor market, right? Of course, with the labor market, we are looking at the demand and supply for labor, but also we are looking at practically the laws, labor laws, governing that country. What are they like, right? And then image or goodwill, right? Someone should be writing somewhere because they should be noting, right? Because there are some things I will not provide here, but probably I'll just be explaining them for the purposes of those that attend class, right? So when you attend class, you gain more than someone who just says that, you know what, me, I'm very bright, even if I don't attend class, I'll just go to the platform, download the notes, read, and then pass. For my case, for my classes, sometimes it may not happen. Sometimes it may not do what? It may not happen. Some concepts I do explain them in class, and you should be noting down, right? So I know that we are studying online. There is nothing like dictation. I believe some of us don't even know the meaning of dictation. Do we know? You know, we are living in a .com world, where some of us, our blackboards, our so-called blackboards in quotes are there, virtual classes. And some of us even, we don't have hard copies of the books, isn't it? So after the virtual class, you go download these notes online on your laptop or on your smartphone, and then you read from your laptop. There is nothing like printing. I thank you for not wanting to kill the trees. You know, when we are not using papers, we are saving these trees, isn't it? We are saving nature, and somehow, somewhere, we are not killing the trees. Do you understand what I mean by killing the trees? We are not doing what? We are not killing. In quotes, killing the trees. So that is good what? Environmental. We are managing the environment, isn't it? We are not printing. We are using everything online. So we are saving the environment and the forests. But also, we must also have input, isn't it? In what we do, isn't it? So please, you should be noting down somewhere. Okay? So image and goodwill, right? So with image, we have seen the so-called international organizations. I don't know them, but you know them. The so-called organizations that I won't mention here, you know, international organization for, you know them, those ones, where everyone says that I have to work there, where everyone admires to work, yeah? You find they have advertised a job for only 2 people and the 2,000 people are applying, and you're like, what is this? So that will be about the image of the company, that is the image of the company that is advertising. So for such international companies, for example, they will not even if they didn't advertise and they just send out people to speak that they need, maybe they need to fill some positions. They have vacant positions. But the rumors will leak. Everyone will tell their relative, the relative will tell the in-law will tell the outlaw, and so on. And so you find people applying even without this company doing a massive advertisement, which is costly. Are we together? So that will be about the image. Whereas another company that is not really with a good image, if they advertise, someone will be like, who is able to work there? I won't apply. So the recruitment, the image affects the recruitment. I don't know if we are on the same page regarding that point. Political, social, legal, environment. So these are practically 3 factors in one, right? 3 factors in one. Political, right? We all know that the political environment has a lot to do with influencing the stability of everything, right? Whether businesses, whether everything that we do, political stability has an upper hand in determining the success of these activities. And in this perspective, the recruitment practice or activity, the social factors. Of course, we've seen that with the social factors here, it looks at, for example, it looks at what people believe in, right? Some people may believe that, it could be, for example, that the society here is not educated enough, right? They don't have the skills that these employers need, right? Then the legal environment has to do with the laws and regulations, especially labor laws, especially governing that nation. They'll have a lot in determining how this recruitment process goes along in that country, the unemployment rates, right? So the unemployment rates, of course, also determine, like we've seen that if the unemployment rate is high, unemployment rate, of course, actually increase the supply for labor, like we've already been seeing the labor and the supply, labor and supply of labor, and of course this will affect, right? Of course, when there are more unemployed people in a nation than the employed ones, then it means these employers, they'll have nothing to lose. Even if you resigned today, the following day they'll be recruiting another person. Competitors, here we are talking about the rival firms, for the rival firms, yeah? If you are a firm and there is another business or organizations that is doing the similar job, similar activity like you, that is a competitor, that is a rival firm. So of course, here it can be in a perspective of where these rival firms may be using skillful workers, and maybe you as an organization, you've not yet, your workers are not skilled enough. So of course, that one gives them a competitive advantage over your organization, and also you may need to actually also recruit skillful employees to match with your competitors. What are the sources of recruitment? So we both have internal and external sources of recruitment. So what we mean here is that when these human resource managers are looking for the rightful candidate to fill these positions, where would they be looking? Where would they be targeting? What would they be targeting? What would they be targeting? So they can target within the organization or outside the organization. So within the organization, basically here we see that we have what you call succession planning, where we have, for example, that maybe if the manager left the organization, who is that other person that can fill that position, that other employee within the organization? So that can be, so that is what we call succession planning. What are the advantages of internal recruitment? Of course, here with internal recruitment, we are looking at the human resource practitioner or manager recruiting from within, right? We've seen these internal adverts. They want someone, but they are recruiting from within, right? So it is less costly than external recruitment, and we shall be seeing why it is less costly, but basically it is less costly because in terms of advertising, yes, it is less costly. You don't have to go through that recruitment process that we are later on going to look at, or we have actually looked at briefly. Then organizations have a better knowledge of internal applicant skills and abilities. So literally here, the human resource manager knows much, right? Knows much about this internal applicant in terms of character, in terms of skills, in terms of abilities, because this person has worked with them for some time. Actually, it could even be their full-time employee or permanent employee, or it could even be a temporary employee. Some of them are what you call interns, those people that are doing the internship within the organization. So if they want to fill a vacant position, of course, they'll first they'll give priority to the interns within the organization rather than doing the external advertisements, right? So that's how advantageous it is. Then also with internal recruitment, we are still looking at the advantages of internal recruitment, right? So through performance appraisal and other sources of information about the current personnel, decision makers typically make more extensive knowledge on internal candidates, and they come up with valid selection. So of course, these internal employees, their information is already available with their human resource department, right? And it will be a matter of just going through their applications or academic credentials and CVs, curriculum vitae, and then they'll be able to come up with the rightful person to fill the position. Then this kind of internal recruitment, the internal recruitment actually promotes commitment, organization commitment, and the job satisfaction, right? So this person that has been recruited from within the organization will actually be happy, right? That they are valuing him or her rather than someone that is recruited outside the company. Then it is used for succession planning, like you've already seen, that it paves way for succession planning, whereby if someone, for example, leaves, maybe could be retirement, right? Retirement, where we looked at the need for recruitment, and remember we looked at the unexpected recruitment need, anticipated recruitment need, and planned recruitment need. But in this perspective, it would be unexpected. For example, recruitment need may be through retirement, death, where if someone retired, if someone died, an employee in an organization, they can be succeeded. That's what by another employee within the same organization, and that's what we call succession planning. What are the disadvantages of internal recruitment? What are the disadvantages of internal recruitment? So one of them is that these managers, these people that are being recruited within the organization, they may not be the best change masters. Are we together? Because in most cases, they may be rigid with the old way of doing things. You know, in one way or the other, when these people have worked, you have seen some of those people, those of us that are employed. Someone will come and tell you, me, I have spent 20 years in this organization, and there is no one better than me. There is no employee better than me. They actually talk sarcastically, yeah? They have that pride in them, that arrogance in them, and they're like, me, I've already been here before. They are almost owning the company. Are we together? They're employees, but you know, they have that pride in them. I've worked here for 20 years and no one can get me out of it. That kind of thing. No one can change my mentality. So they may continue with their old way of doing things, and sometimes if you do the internal recruitment that we are looking at, it may not help in terms of changing the systems. So that's one disadvantage of internal recruitment. Secondly, it may lead to a rising of complaints from unit poaching good employees from another unit. So you find like it could be departments where someone has been maybe a head of department of this one department, and now they are making him maybe the MD, the managing director. And then this other department will be like, no, they've taken our boss, that kind of scenario. So you find complaints in one way or the other. There would be those unsatisfied employees, you cannot please everyone. Then politics, we know the job politics, yeah? Some of us are employed, and when I talk about job politics, you understand even more than myself, right? So the politics has greater impact on internal recruitment, right? So sometimes this person is recruited not because they know they have the rightful skills, but because somewhere, somehow, they are related to the human resource manager. So all that is job politics, isn't it? So at the end of the day, we may not really achieve the rightful kind of objectives when we are considering internal recruitment. So in this perspective, for example, what happens here with internal recruitment, what is so annoying? These people, these organizations, some of these organizations, not all, what they do, they will know that they are going to recruit someone from within the organization, but they will make an external advertisement, maybe in the newspapers or even online, and then people will waste their time out there applying and writing and photocopying papers, and dropping application to the organization. And then, but at the end of the day, at the back of the human resource manager's mind, he or she knows that even if these people drop so many applications, at the end of the day, it is this employee X that is taking over the job. I know that what that means and how it feels for you to know that however much I applied, at the end of the day, it was this internal employee X who attained the job. So my question would be, why waste people's time in the names of applying for a job that you already know that the employee X within the organization is going to fill? And the answer may be simple: to meet the legal requirement and the ethical requirement, because they know that at the certain time X, the auditors maybe will come and audit, and they'll ask you, did you advertise this job? And then the person will be like, yes, we did advertise. But practically, when the advertisement was just for formality. So we've seen these things happen, and there is nothing new here that we are actually looking at. But practically, we are looking at actual situations that do happen in organizations, right? And so that's why even this course, I believe no one should fail this human resource management, because it is something that is practical, that happens, isn't it? Then another disadvantage of internal recruitment, like I think I've already shared or explained some of these human resource managers, they already know ahead who is going to take up this job, right? But sometimes they are just doing it for formality because they have to do it. So with the internal recruitment, much as employee X in that organization might be maybe promoted and given that job, you may find that some section of fellow employees may not be happy. Some section of these fellow employees may not be happy actually. Some of them, of course, some of them who actually desired that position, but they realized that it's now another fellow colleague, another fellow employee of theirs who is taking up that position. And then people begin hating each other over nothing, right? Actually, literally becoming what you call one of the gang, right? So they are just, they will just look at this fellow employee who has been given that position and they're like, this is one of us. There is, you know, even the respect will not be there. They will not respect that person. If you realize that, for example, if it was the managing director position that needs to be filled, and then maybe they get someone who has been an assistant to fill now that position, people will not, these employees will not respect him or her because they see him as their workmate, as their fellow workmate, as their teammate, right? Otherwise, if they recruited someone from outside, what we call external recruitment, and then a new face comes in with different policies, different rules, with all the strictness, these employees within the organization, they'll fear that person, right? Rather than just bringing another person who has been an assistant to maybe the managing director to take over the position. I believe that one is true. Yeah. And then still with disadvantages of internal recruitment, it may bring about inbreeding. So with the inbreeding, what we mean by inbreeding is that, you know, these workers within the organization, some of them may have strange character, right? Strange character that they may carry on. Like we've seen that some of them may even be rigid to change. They may not be the best change masters. So they will continue with that rigidity, and of course, that rigidity of not being able to change, continuing with the old ways, will be a hindrance in the way the systems are transformed. So they may continue with the old system of doing things, which will actually lag the organization behind. And yet, if a new person was recruited externally, they would actually come in with the new techniques of changing the old system and making everything new. Sources of internal recruitment. So with internal recruitment, we have a job posting or advertisement, right? So this basically will be internal adverts, which can be written through the organization's newsletters, email, right? Bulletin boards within the organization, right? Notice boards, and then of course here, these workers within the organization will be able to apply. It can also be through personnel records, which we have already looked at, right? Whereby, for example, the human resource manager will have to go through those archives of these internal employees' applications, look through them, and then be able to identify the right internal employee with the rightful skills and experience to fill that position. External recruitment. Now, the need for external recruitment may come in basically when the firm now cannot get employees that they need from within the current staff. So the organization may find itself that the internal employees or the current staff do not match their abilities, their skills don't match with the vacant position available. So there it means that the firm or the organization will need to do what we call an external recruitment, right? And then also when the firm, the need for external recruitment may come in when there is need for the firm to inject a new perspective into the running of an organization, basically to bring in new breeds, new people, to bring new ideas that will take the organization forward. What are these external sources? What are these external sources? The external sources can be through advertising, of course, external advertisements, through going to colleges or universities. Of course, we know that universities have a talent pool of young people that have been skilled with the appropriate knowledge. Agencies, right? So there are those recruitment agencies, there are sources of external recruitment, agent search and selection. Here when the organizations actually go and search from the agencies, headhunting, referrals and walk-ins, and then recruitment on the internet. So with advertising, it could be advertising within the different media, right? When you talk about media, we are looking at different ways of passing on this advertisement. It could be newspapers, it could be televisions, it could be newsletters, it could be radios, right? So all those are different media that that can be used for external advertising, and this involves construction of these adverts or writing down these adverts. So the advertising, basically where you place your advertisement, will also depend on the type of job that you are advertising for. For example, if you're advertising for blue-collar jobs, you know, those blue-collar jobs are the so-called dirty jobs, right? You would require to take that advertisement in a local newspaper. Whereas if you're advertising for the so-called white-collar jobs, you could be required, which we basically look at as specialized jobs, you would be required to advertise in trade and professional journals. Whereas if it is an international position, you may need to advertise it in international diaries, international newspapers, or international magazines. So as the human resource manager is constructing an advert, should have the following guides, the following points to be guided on. These points, basically, they are put in an acronym that is called AIDA, if that is the pronunciation. So AIDA is attention. The advert should attract attention of the reader, right? The advert should also create interest for the reader to like the position being advertised. That advert should also create desire for the reader to like the job. For example, you could say that the job requires a travel challenge, right? Then this advert also must have what you call an action. Make sure that the advert prompts the reader to take an action. For example, you could say in your job advertisement, you could say, call today, apply now, enroll now, right? All those are statements that actually prompt the reader to take action to apply. So this advert should contain the following. It should have the job content, which practically is the primary tasks and the responsibilities. Should have the realistic job description and of course, sorry, the realistic description of the work condition, right? For example, you could say that the employee should be able to work under minimum supervision, right? Then the advert should also indicate the location of the job. Most of these adverts, you know them. For example, newspaper adverts, even on the website, they show you that this job is located in Jinja, this job is located in Kampala, in Imbara, and so on, right? Then, of course, this job advert should also include the compensation, including the fringe benefits, right? The compensation, the salary, payment, the fringe benefits are basically those non-monetary benefits, right? For example, it could be that they are providing fuel to the employee in terms of fuel cards, not money, but they are giving it to you in terms of non-monetary benefits, right? Then this job advert should also include the job specification, which is basically the education and the experience. You've seen these job adverts where they say, we need someone with a degree in maybe computer science and with these very many years of experience. Sometimes they say 10 years experience and you're like, oh my God, where is the school of experience, right? If there's only a school of experience where people could go and attain and buy that experience, I think it would do them good, right? So that is what you call the JD, the job description. And then after that, lastly, that advertisement should include the details, where the applicant should send the application. For example, you can say, the advert can say that if you fill the following qualifications, then send your application to xyz@gmail.com, or send your application to this building, plot this and this, that kind of thing, right? So the advert should be able to direct the applicant where to send the application. Sometimes it can even be online application where you are told that if you want to apply for this job, use this link, this link to go to the online website such that you apply online, right? So basically, the job adverts or advertisement should contain all these things. So as a human resource manager, that should be a guide in constructing a job advertisement. So let's look at these sources of external recruitment employment agencies. So these employment agencies, basically, they link the employers and the job seekers. They actually work for these organizations to do the recruitment process. And the reason would be why turn to employment agencies? Why turn to employment agencies, right? So in most cases with these employment agencies, the organization might not have the capacity to do all these recruitment, selection, and so on, yeah? So it now contracts this agency to do the recruitment for it. And then also the firm, the organization might have had challenges in identifying the rightful candidates. And so they will opt to use the employment agencies to ensure that these employment agencies get for them the rightful candidates, right? Then also sometimes it is a short notice. You need this person like yesterday. You need this vacant position to be filled like yesterday. And so you don't have all the time to do the recruitment and selection process. And so you you give an offer to these employment agencies to do the work for you. Then also these organizations actually may feel it's safer, may feel that it's safer for the employment agencies to do the work for them than the organization to actually do the direct recruitment. Actually, we are going to realize that some of these employment agencies actually do not even disclose the advertising organization. They will simply use a language, for example, our client, we are recruiting on behalf of our client. They will not mention the organization. So some organizations appear, they prefer being anonymous, not, not letting the public know that it is this company advertising, and that's why they do it indirectly by involving or by using the employment agencies. And then also using these employment agencies, it cuts the cost, it's cheaper, and it saves a lot of time, right? So I've not had any questions so far, and I'm assuming that we are on the same page. Otherwise, if there is anything unclear to you, feel free to raise your hand, and then we shall get you there. I've not got any questions so far, so I'm assuming that we are on the right page. We are on the same page, actually. Now, we are still looking at external recruitment. We've looked at employment agencies. We are now looking at executive recruiters, whom we call the headhunters. Now, these headhunters or the executive recruiters, basically they are management gets these employment agencies and retains them, right? Retains them as their employee, right? Pays them money to do the recruitment for them whenever need arises. So the difference between the headhunters and the employment agencies is just that the headhunters or the executive recruiters, for them, they are retained by their employers, right? That is the distinct difference between the two. Advantages of employment agencies. Advantages of employment agencies. So in most cases, most of these employment agencies, they have the experience, and so at the end of the day, they will be able to get for you, to get for the organization, the rightful candidates, right? To fill the rightful positions. Yes, Maurice?
Thank you, Madam, for the very, very clear presentation. However,
Yes.
I was not clear about referrals and walk-ins when it came to external sources of employees. I'm sorry to take us back, but
All right. So practically, we are just
yes.
looking at them in details. And we are also going to look at referrals in details. The other one was just, they were just, should I say highlights?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Because one of them was
Yeah.
employment agencies, headhunters, and now we are looking at them in details, and we are also going to look at walk-ins and referrals in details, right? So I thank you for being inquisitive in a positive way, isn't it? And it shows that you are following. Because some of us even we have switched off, yeah? I believe the time is, I know the time is a little longer, but we are making it, we are taking it marathon up to 2, right? So let us be a little patient, we shall get there. Thank you, Maurice, for that question. Okay, we are continuing with employment agencies, and we are looking at advantages of employment agencies, right? So like we've already seen that these employment agencies, most of them have the experience, and they will actually get to the rightful candidates, right? And then another thing is that that they keep the information of the organizations confidential. That's why we've seen that in most cases when they are presenting these advertisements, they'll only say that we are recruiting on behalf of our firm. We are recruiting on behalf of our client for this position. They will not expose their client, the name of the client, the organization, because some organizations, especially these internal organizations, they don't even want to know people to know that they are the ones advertising, right? Because for some of these international organizations that I won't mention, but you know them, the so-called international this and this that every one of us wants to work for, right? The moment they say that this international organization is advertising, my friend, you will see applications dropping like water, even if they are advertising for one position. So in most cases, these organizations want to be anonymous and hide their name under by using the employment agencies. So there is confidentiality in that perspective. Then another advantage of these employment agencies is that recruiters save top management time. We've already seen that it is time saving, right? If you look at the whole process of recruitment selection, my friend, it is tedious, like we are going to see. So to save time in all those processes of recruitment and selection, organizations find it time saving to use the employment agencies. So let's look at the pitfalls of employment agencies or the disadvantages of employment agencies. So some of these employment agencies actually might not really take it to themselves to look for the rightful candidates, as some of them are just looking for money and they are literally salesmen and saleswomen, right? So you as an employer, if you don't also follow up and you just sit back and think that they are going to do everything for you, in one way or the other, you may be disappointed, right? And then also, you may find that because sometimes they are also overwhelmed. They are working on many clients of theirs, and sometimes they are like, this person is appropriate, but in most cases, they may not be accurate in availing the rightful person. So now the question is, the message is now, what are the guidelines for choosing recruiters? You don't just wake up one morning and you're like, yes, let me go to this recruitment agency and pay them money and they will do the work for me. No, you also have to take part as an employer, right? So number one is that you as an employer, before you even rush to just choose any recruitment agency, make sure that the firm has the capacity to do so, to conduct a thorough job search, a thorough search for the applicants, that are supposed to fill this vacant position, right? Sometimes it may require even doing what we call reference checks, looking for the clients that this agency, employment agency has worked for, and you ask them and you're like, how is this agency? How is this employment agency? They will give you the information. Don't just rush to choose on any recruitment agency in the names of choosing a recruitment agency. Then you may actually need to meet the individual, maybe the MD, the manager of that recruitment agency. Meet them in person, right? Get to know what is happening there. Explain to them. But sometimes if you just communicate maybe via email, and they also not take it serious. Then also the payment to these recruitment agencies also matters. If you don't pay them well, they'll also just do, show they work for you, right? Then also choose recruiters that you can trust. Of course, with privileged information that you may have, that you would have searched for, make reference checks. The reference checks, we've talked about them, where we've seen that you may even go to these clients that this recruitment agency has worked for and get it from the clients. If they tell you that recruitment agency is not good, why do you go there? Then another source of external recruitment is the colleges or the universities. So we all know that these universities, they train young people they actually help them acquire, they avail them with these skills. For example, we are here, but we are acquiring a number of skills depending on the kind of programs that we are undertaking, right? So these employers, actually, some of them go to these universities, and that's where they get the applicants for these jobs. But we are also going to see that this business of going to the universities or colleges to get applicants also has some pitfalls. So what are the problems of using external recruitment by going to these campuses or the universities? One of them is that it's also expensive, right? And time consuming, because you will have to print brochures, you will have to print brochures and then share them with these, or flyers, share them with these students. So that is costly and time consuming. Then also some of these employers, some of these students, actually, most of them are amateurs, if I'm sorry to say, especially these ones that, of course, I know that there are some students who are working at the same time studying. Those ones are okay. They have the experience. But there are these ones who have never worked, and all they have is the theory with them, right? They've never gone to the field. So they are, you as an employer, you will literally be working with an amateur, which is not good. Then Maurice was now asking about referrals and walk-ins, right? So with the referrals, referral comes from referring, yeah, referring. So referral is, for example, when I say that some of you, for example, when we were interacting with them, with you on orientation, we were asking you that, how did you come to know UTAM, Uganda Technology and Management University? And some of you were saying, I was referred by a friend. I was referred by a friend, literally meaning that maybe it's a friend who was studying from Utamu or who knew about Utamu that told you about the university, and that's how you also got to know. So someone referred you to this university. So I guess we are getting the meaning of referring, isn't it? Right? So referring here, referrals here, we are practically meaning that if it's an organization, the employers within that organization, they are referring someone. If there is a vacant position, then that employer within an organization will go and talk to the human resource manager and tell them that, you know what, yes, we need a position to be filled here, but there is someone I know who has the relevant skills to fill this position. So it means that that current employee for that organization is referring maybe a friend to come and do what? And work. So I guess we are understanding the meaning of referrals. Then walk-ins is where, for example, for you when you are looking for a job, you just move with your papers, and then you just, with your academic documents, of course, when I say papers, I don't mean any other blank paper, right? I mean the academic papers. So you're working with your academic papers, you're looking for a job, and then you just walk into an office. That's what we mean, walk-ins. You enter an office, you present your academic document, and if it so happens that they need someone in that field, then they give you a job. That's what we call a walk-in, right? So what are the pros? Pros are the advantages, right? What are the pros of referrals, right? So with the referrals here, if it is a worker that is referring another, maybe a friend to come and work in that organization, of course now there it means that of course it means that that person is working like a guarantee, is a guarantor actually to that person. And of course, you know that by the time you as an organization, you know, by the time my employee refers someone, they really need the best for me. They really need, they really want and wish the best for me in terms of an employee to fill the vacant position. So it can be in that way. Then, and of course, it's cheaper. Then, but also the referral element of external recruitment has a disadvantage whereby this person is referring to the friend to come and work in an organization may actually be referring to someone who does not have the relevant skills, just because they are his or her friend. Then at the end of the day, you as an employer, you may not get the rightful candidate with the rightful skill to fill that position. Recruitment, external recruitment can also be through using the internet. Most of these vacancies that you've actually applied for, they are on the internet, and that's how some of you or some people have been able to get jobs on the internet, on these job websites. So now that was recruitment. Let us look at now after the recruitment. Remember, we've seen that recruitment refers to that process of searching for the searching. It's basically it links the job seekers with the employers, right? Or looking employers looking for the rightful candidates to fill the rightful positions, right? By persuading them to, or making them to apply for these positions. So once the recruitment has ended, then these job applications have to be used, they have to be looked into. So the next step will be that it will actually be a selection process, right? So the next step basically here will be for the human resource managers to look through these applications, scrutinize them, and then be able to, of course, come up with the final and the rightful candidate to fill the position, the vacant position. Of course, they will look at the education, background, the experience. They will look at, of course, in line with the advertisement that was made. They will look at the growth, the progress and growth, the traits of these applicants, and then they will be able to finally sort out the rightful candidate. So during the process of looking through these applications, they are making tentative conclusions here. And of course, they will look at the previous work record. Of course, when they look at your curriculum vitae, they will look at your previous work records, right? And they will use this information in this curriculum vitae of yours to make rational decisions in terms of determining the rightful candidate. So after the recruitment, now it is the employee selection. So this selection, like we've already seen briefly, that it will involve a pool of screening tools. It will involve screening tools like using tests, assessment centers, background, and reference checks. So why is careful selection important? Why is it important for us to be careful when we are doing the selection process? Number one is, as long as you do the selection process well, you'll be able to, of course, to come up with the rightful candidates who will be able to actually improve performance, because they have the required skills. They have the required skills, and of course, the required skills and experience have a correlation with performance of that employee, and finally, the performance of an organization. Now, the selection you have to carry out careful selection, because if you don't do so, in the long run it's going to be costly for you. Because if you select the candidate, Maurice is asking, what are the assessment centers? All right. What are the assessment? We are going to look at all that, people. Okay, I just want the class because it is an inquisitive class that wants to know each and everything. It's an inquisitive class. So we are going to get there, but practically, assessment centers, this will be like this organization, when they are carrying out these interviews, for example, they will get a place to interview the applicants, isn't it? But as they're interviewing these applicants, they'll be carrying out different sets of tests that we are going to look at. So those places where these different forms of tests are carried out, they are what you call the assessment centers. It could be that maybe some of you have been called for interviews and they are telling you, go to such and such a place for an interview. That is an assessment center where they are assessing the applicants from. Maybe it's a written interview, it's an oral interview. You'll have to make a presentation. That will be an assessment center. Then Dennis is asking, those jobs located in hard to reach areas, employers tend to hide location in fear that they may receive few applicants. I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, when you're making an advert, of course, at the end of the day, it is weird. It is weird to make a job advert and you do not place where the job is going to be done, where this organization is located. It's so weird. All right. Otherwise, if you don't include where the location of the organization, you may end up not getting the rightful candidate. Because if you put that the job is in the remote center, I mean in the remote areas or in the village, maybe it's in Gulu, Lira, and so on. Yeah, of course, we know that some people are allergic. They don't want to work in the remote areas or in the villages. Others, they are flexible, right? They are flexible for them. They are like, as long as it's a well-paying job and, you know, the working conditions are okay, I'll be able to work anywhere, right? So, of course, if you put, for example, that this job is in the remote area, this village, someone will apply when they know that, you know, I'm applying for this job, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be working in a village. So you get the rightful candidate. But if you hide and then you say the job is located in the city center, you get that pool of applicants who believe in working in only city center, and that will be, you not get the rightful pool of applicants. So all those things matter. That's why we've seen that these should be guidelines when a human resource manager is constructing a job advertisement. Are we together? So in your deception, in your lying as a human resource manager, when you're constructing that advert, you may also get negative repercussions of not getting the right pool of applicants. I hope we are on the same page. Then we're looking at, okay, these questions have put me off track. Eh? All right, so we're looking at why is selection important, right? So we saw that selection, rightful selection has a correlation with performance. Of course, when you get the people with the rightful skills, of course, their performance will have high performance, and of course, performance of the organization. Then again, we are seeing that, when you're doing this selection, it should be careful selection. Why? Because if you don't select carefully, at the end of the day, you are going to get scenarios of hiring the wrongful workers, and then they will not perform accordingly. And if they don't perform accordingly, you'll be required to again recruit, which is again costly in the long run, right? Then legal implication of incompetent hiring can be costly and lead to court redress. So in this perspective, we are looking at it in the past. For example, let us look at a medical center that hires someone. You know, people impersonate, people fake papers. We all know these things happen. So that's why it is required, the selection has to be careful selection. So just imagine someone maybe impersonating themselves as a doctor. They even fake papers. And you as a hospital or a medical center, you don't take the selection process important. You don't make reference checks. Are we together? So at the end of the day, for you will think that you've employed a doctor, and this person will begin now doing things that are weird. Are we together? injecting people, but this person is not a competent what? Doctor. So the moment people get to know that this person is not a doctor, what do you think is going to happen to that hospital? Right? Dillis is saying, I don't think so, Dennis. Most of the jobs, for instance, in the refugee settlement, which is considered hard to reach area of operation, tend to have many applicants since they even put the duty station on adverts. So sometimes it may not be about, sorry. So sometimes it may not be about the location, but probably about the working condition and the pay structure, right? And the pay structure. All right. So we're looking at an example of where someone impersonates to be a doctor and they end up maybe even making someone lose their lives in the names of what? Being a doctor, right? So what will happen if, what happens if people get to know that this person is not a doctor? Of course, it will have legal implication. It will lead to court redress. Even this health center, also called the hospital clinic, might be closed. Are we together? So in order to avoid such legal implications, it is better to be careful in the selection process through different screening tools that we shall be looking at later on. So I've liked this class because we are willing to ask questions, but other students, what they do, they pretend, you know, they pretend that they know. I don't know why. Maybe they fear to ask, you know, we are here to learn and no one should fear to ask, right? So even if you ask like 1,000 times, me, as long as the time is there, I'll be willing to answer that, right? So let us look at the basic tests for selection. So we have what we call validity tests, validity tests, right? So validity, basically here we have validity and reliability tests. Validity, we are basically looking at the accuracy of this application. How accurate is it? Yes? How accurate is it? So that's why people fake papers, and at the end of the day, they are caught. Why? Because these employers took it upon themselves to be serious and careful in their selection processes. Then we have what you call this validity test. It can be in terms of, in two ways: criterion validity and content validity. So criterion validity, it could be that the applicants have been given a test, right? They have been given a test, and how well they perform. Of course, the best here will be looked at as the best candidate, the one who performs well in this test. So that is the criterion validity. Then content validity. Content validity, for example, it could be that yes, they've been given a test, but at least someone has been able to, it could be a test that is really looking out for basic elements that are required, basic skills that are required for a job. And once the applicant is able to at least to provide those basic skills in this test, then they will be considered. That is what is called content test. Then reliability test looks at consistency, right? For example, it could be that if you are given the same test today, if you are given a test today, and then tomorrow and you score a 90, and then the next day you are given the same test, you are supposed to score in that range. If you score a 90 today in that test and tomorrow you are scoring 20%, there is inconsistency. Then also it could be in form of questions, all right? Some of these questions, they actually just ask you what to tell them what is on your curriculum vitae. So the irony comes in when people are faking years, people are faking academic documents, and they will ask you, they actually ask you what is on your curriculum vitae. So if you say anything contrary to what is on your curriculum vitae, they will just know this person is lying. That will be the end of your job application. Then we have different types of tests. Of course, the essence of these tests, they are screening tools. All these are screening tests, are screening tools. There are some of the screening tools. And then these tests, we have types. We have what you call cognitive tests, which are basically tests that are aimed at checking the mental ability of the applicant, the thinking capacity of the applicant. Then we have what you call psychomotor or motor and physical test. Psychomotor means, for example, how you use your physical body, how you use your hands. If it is a job that is hands-on and requires you, maybe could be typing. They need a secretary. How do you use your hands to type? That kind of thing, right? Physical test, it could be that maybe they need someone, the job requires someone to carry huge luggage, heavy weights. So if they see you that you cannot even carry a 1 kilogram kind of maybe luggage, why would they hire you? Personality test. Personality, basically, they are looking at who you are, questions like talk about yourself, that kind of thing. Interest and achievement, maybe they ask you about your hobbies, they ask you about what you've been able to attain for the previous work positions that you've been able to attend. So these cognitive tests, like you've already seen, some of them are mental tests that require that you test your reasoning ability or your intelligence. Some of them test your memory, your reasoning, your verbal comprehension, and your numerical ability. It could be a job that requires, maybe they need a statistician, a statistician, and they give you maybe a test to make some calculations, and you cannot even answer those calculations. There you are out of the equation. So these tests actually, they are normally referred to as aptitude tests. Maybe that is the common name that you all know, aptitude tests. All right. Okay, let's go to measurement centers. I think it was Maurice that was asking about management centers, management assessment centers. So basically, these are I should say locations, or areas where these presentations are made, where these applicants are interviewed in the presence of the watchful eye of experts. The presence of the interviewers, right? So depending on the kind of job, they will require you, for example, to make presentations. They will require you to make discussions, right? So management centers are practically those areas where these applicants are meeting the interviewers. Then there are also, we've seen the tests. We also have other selection techniques. All these are screening tools. So we have background investigation and reference checks, right? So for example, some of us, some people, they put their references, but you put a reference that you even don't know. So these employers will go ahead. These organizations that you're applying to will go ahead and call these so-called referees of yours. And if it so happens that the referee says, I don't know that person, then that will be the end of you. That will be the end of your application. And then a background investigation. We've seen people faking academic documents. And then at the end of the day, when they go to these, they are called national what? Someone is saying they're not seeing the presentation.
Yes, doctor.
Right now, you're not seeing the presentation. Hello?
I'm also not seeing.
No, I'm not seeing it.